Good morning or afternoon, depending on when you're watching. Welcome to the ChinWag with the lovely Julia.
And the lovely Richard.
And it's nice to be back, feeling a bit better today. Not 100%, but on that way. How are you feeling?
Yeah, same-ish.
We both felt a little bit weird recently. I
think apparently a lot of people have. Heat stroke has gotten a lot of people.
Yes, I think it has. A lot of people have done some very stupid things by getting drunk and sitting on the beach and then waiting for it to happen. And then other people have...
We're just looking after their poorly girlfriends and their son.
Yes, it just crept up on them and they didn't notice. I think that can happen in these hot temperatures. So the subject today is... I was looking at the news and I was just hearing how there are going to be delays at the ports as everybody does the great getaway and people are trying to get away. And then there were people who were having road rage in their car, as you can imagine people get.
Yeah, the heat has been getting to everybody, hasn't it?
And I just thought, does modern technology really help us? Or is it sometimes more of a hindrance? And the reason I say that, clearly it does help us. It's nice to have mobile phones so that you can actually talk to people.
Yeah, communication at the touch of a screen.
Which is rather good. But sometimes I feel with cars, even though the car is only supposed to go the legal limit of the roads, but that the car can actually go faster than the legal limit. I've often wondered, why do they manufacture cars that will go faster, say, than 70 miles an hour, if 70 miles an hour is the legal limit? I'm not asking people not to make them at that go faster than that, by the way, but I'm just wondering why they do go faster than that. Because the thing is, if you are in a vehicle and it can go fast, the chances are, if you're a bit late or you're frantic to be somewhere...
the temptation is to put your foot down and go.
And I
would imagine.
Yeah, and it's very easy to get stuck behind somebody who's a bit of a slow coach and just go, I want to get past you. Whereas in the old days, I know, harking back to the old days and all of that nonsense... But if you just had a horse and cart, the horse could only go at the speed the horse could go at. And you had no pretensions that you could whiz along faster. You may have actually thought, like they did in the early days, that if you went too fast, 30 miles an hour, you'd suffocate from the speed, that you wouldn't be able to breathe. But there must have been... something in, I dare say in some of the situations when you see pictures of old London when it was congested, I dare say there was a bit of road rage back in then with horses and carts jeering and jollying or whatever horses do. Jostling, there we go. Just thinking of the horses and carts rubbing up against in very narrow streets. But out on the highways, because not everybody was out in their horse and carts all at the same time descending for the coast, it must have been quite pleasant. And of course I was talking yesterday about the loudness of the engines and everything's getting louder and louder, it seems, and
especially when you're poorly with a headache.
Yes, and more noticeable. But I just wonder if this modern technology is sometimes more of a hindrance than a help, because it would be nice if you just had horses and carts trotting past.
I think there are many people, myself included, who would love to have, just horses and carts and everything travelling around. But it's unrealistic. There is an island that we can go and do that on.
An island?
Yes. It's down near Guernsey in Jersey, isn't it?
Oh, right. What's it called?
I can't for the life of me remember now.
I can't remember. An island in which what they do...
no, because it's a small island. They don't have cars.
Oh, I see. Oh, right, yes. Oh, well, that would be lovely. It would be lovely to go and experience a place free of vehicles. I did hear somebody talking about it. Well, maybe it's the same place.
Maybe.
So there we go. Yes. Is modern technology too much? One of the things, of course, we just mentioned mobile phones at the beginning of that. And it's that whole thing about all this mobile technology or all this small computerized stuff was supposed to help us out by getting the work done quicker. But actually, you end up finding that you're at the end of the phone at any time, all the time, that you're actually working longer hours because you can be contacted wherever you are unless you turn the phone off.
Yeah, that's right.
Or have a dedicated works phone and then you just drop it in a bucket of water when you don't want to be contacted.
There is also the issue that the more complicated something gets, i.e. technology, the more that can go wrong with it. And when we get so reliant on a piece of technology, or lots of technology, when it does go wrong, we lose our minds. We don't know what to do.
Yes, it's like the banks. I don't know if you've ever been in that situation where you go to the bank, your money is sitting in the bank, and you go in, you want some of your money, which you've entrusted to them, and they're making a profit out of the money that you've put into the bank. And then you decide, I just want 20 quid because I need to buy some food. And then they turn around and say, oh, I'm ever so sorry, our computers are down. And it's like, well, I don't care about that. I just want 20 quid. Surely you can pull it out of a box somewhere. You've got my money in the bank. No, we can't do anything. We can't give it. We can't even use the old system of, whatever it was when they were using things that did that kind of motion. And then you just think, wait a minute, that's not fair, is it? Because your system's gone down, but it's my money, and now I can't get it out. Will you compensate me for the fact that I can't take the money out, or I can't pay my mortgage, or I can't pay my rent, or I can't buy any food because your system has gone down? So sometimes this technology is not always as good as it should be. But I gather that bank technology is pretty behind the times anyway, because to actually upgrade is such a risk that they do it so rarely, because if it screws up, you could end up either with no money in the account or more zeros on your final balance than you actually had to begin with, which is good for you, but not so good for the bank.
No.
So I don't know how true any of that is.
I've never worked in a bank, so I can't comment.
No, well, I've never worked in a bank, but I know what it's like when you try to get your cash out and you can't, and it's very irritating. So let us know if you are one of those people that thinks that sometimes the modern technology can be a hindrance instead of a help. Not suggest, and most people will know that I am sort of fairly nostalgic for the old ways. But it isn't just I want to go back to the old ways. I want to take the best of the past and hang on to them. Anyway, yesterday we got lots of interesting comments about being ill. Thank you for those. We have some on the screen. Are you able to read any of those, Julia?
Yes. Do you want me to read the names and everything?
Yes, please. And everything.
And everything. Kerry Baldwin says, my brother and I both have the same hereditary rare type of anemia, which means that over the years, other things have been put out of kilter. We both had our spleen out as children. He had his gallbladder out. I have, if I can say this, Meniere's inner ear condition. Generally, I'm tired. Can you open that up, please?
Yeah, hang on. I've got to just press a button here.
Generally, I'm tired, don't have much energy, and hot weather zaps me.
Can you imagine? I mean, I don't know what that is like, having your spleen out.
No.
That's rather grim.
No, it's not a common thing, is it?
No.
To have to have done.
That's. I mean, I had a little bit of heat stroke, and then as soon as you put up, I wonder if anybody else has got things to suffer from. Suddenly, the world and their brother are saying, "We've got some very serious things that we're suffering from. We've had our spleens out." It's like, all right, yes. Poor old Kerry. Thank you for that, Kerry.
It reminds me of there's a meme of this gentleman who's got no legs and he's climbing a mountain. It's like, this guy's climbing a mountain with no legs. What's your excuse?
Yeah. At least he'll be able to slide down the other side.
Although my legs would hurt.
Yeah, that's true. And he doesn't have to hurt legs.
That's a silly joke because, of course, he still has half legs.
Half legs?
They would hurt, yeah. Well, amputees with the...
Oh, yeah, it depends where you're amputated. If you're amputated right from the top.
Yeah. Anyway,
Tilly Dog says, I suffered frequent bouts of tonsillitis and ear infections when I was very young. Had tonsils and adenoids out and grommets in. What was a grommet then? I always think of a grommet being like a little rubber thing that you... like a washer, but I don't know what that is.
One of my close friends has had adenoids out and grommets in, but
I've had my adenoids out.
Yeah.
No
grommets in?
I don't know about grommets, but I went in for tonsillitis. When you were a kid, back in the 70s, and you went to hospital, and you had, I've got a little bit of a sore throat. Oh, yeah, tonsillitis. Take him out. They used to pull out the tonsils, But whilst they were there, for no reason at all, they said, "Oh, we'll just take the adenoids out as well."
What even are adenoids?
They're annoying things I've had in my nose up here somewhere. I'm not really sure what they are.
I'm sorry I asked.
Yes, me too. No, I think they must be a useless piece of something.
I'll tell you what, I'll look it up later.
Yeah, thanks. Anyway, but that's what they used to routinely do. So I didn't ask to have my adenoids out, but they decided to take them out anyway.
You're annoyed about that?
Yeah, no, not too annoyed. What does Malice in Punderland say?
Malice in Punderland. Broken ankle when I was 18 and never been in hospital since.
Good man.
Generally don't get ill, and if I do, it's normally a 24-hour thing. I did, however, start to feel queasy at a festival last week, but found some food helped in the heat. It's sometimes worth listening to your instincts in extreme weather.
Yes, I think it's often worth listening to your own instincts
100%.
Anyway. You know, you can get that sense that something's not right, and then you can go, "Oh, don't be stupid, I'll be all right." And then an hour later, you're on the floor on the kitchen, on the bathroom, with your head stuck in a bucket of hyena offal. Not always good.
What?
Don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
ENG says, thinking back, nobody of any worth went overseas for a holiday. It's just madness to stand in a queue with documents. It is this crazy rush. I mean, I've mentioned this before, that I'm not so keen to go abroad when there's so much of this wonderful country to explore. But clearly people they feel they want to get away for whatever reason. But the travel industry is not at the moment particularly. I mean, it's never been that easy, is it? But I guess at the moment it's such a jumping through hoops. Now, I don't know if you still have to show COVID passports or vaccinations or all of that when you go abroad these days. That went. But what with the threat of terrorism, I had to think then what it was called. And you have to make sure you've got no more than 2 inches of toothpaste or fluids in any kind of bottles and all of that. So it's a long way from the old original Thompson tours, where people were dressed up very nice and welcome you aboard in a very pleasant atmosphere. What a steady red. Steady red. Yes.
Was walking in a rural location, very quiet, until I was passed by someone driving a Tesla fully electric car. I was surprised how much noise the car generated, primarily from tyre noise. Well, you can't eliminate the tyre noise unless you completely redo the roads, surfaces.
Yes, I suppose down the line at some point we'll get hover cars, won't we?
All that.
Using magnets. Because if you had a metal road...
Maglev cars. Maglev. Magnetic levitation.
Yes.
That's what it's called.
Is that what it is? Is there a real thing?
It is a real thing.
Well, you know
you get monorails using...
Oh, right. Well, I can't... Yeah, I must be.
You get maglev.
Who?
Maglev trains and things.
So if you have a magnet and you have them the wrong way round, so the poles are apart, whichever one it is, they repel.
That's it.
I'm surprised we don't have that. Then you could have your electric cars effectively floating, and then you'd have no noise whatsoever. But I imagine you do need a little bit of noise just to know the bloody thing's coming up behind you.
Well, yes, because, lots of people complain, "Oh, electric cars are too quiet, I can't hear them coming." Well, use your eyes and look.
That's true, unless, of course, you're blind.
Well, in which case, your dog is going to be trained to look.
Yes, that's right. Or, unless you've got a hamster, which is your thing.
Mind you, that's not to say... Not every blind person has a guide dog.
No, guide hamster. Andrew Bradbury says, looking great, Richard. I try to mentally fight illness. The brain is powerful. Exercise the body is the answer. P.S. A wasp sting is very painful on the fingertips. Yes.
It's also very painful on the sole of the foot.
Is that where you've had it? Oh,
stepped
nasty.
on a
Stepped on a wasp the other day. Stepped on a wasp on a month of... Yes, I can imagine anything that you do on your fingertips, though, because you use your fingers all the time, don't you? For those little tiny little things that you don't even think about.
I can vouch for that. When I had hand, foot and mouth, which is basically it's different to the animal one, where you get loads of spots raised, coming up on your hands and feet particularly. That was awful. Couldn't do anything.
Couldn't. Oh yeah, I remember
It was
you having
absolute
it.
agony, and the effects lasted for a couple of months.
So
about that.
yeah, there you are. Oh, nasty,
Yeah.
grim.
David Vad, day after day, alone in the pub, the man with the pint of lager is feeling perfectly satisfied with his lot.
Great, thanks, David Vad, for that. Really added something there. Let's do a couple more, and then we better head off for the hills and enjoy the weekend. Carl Chapman says, Richard, I'm 57 in a month or so. I don't really get ill, neither do my siblings. We put it down to our mother's awful cooking. That's nice, isn't it? And growing up with loads of pets in muck, building up our immune system. And I would totally agree. When I was a kid, there used to be this derelict farm at the back of my house. I wouldn't say my mother's cooking was great, but it wasn't terrible. It was just back in the 70s. You had all sorts of weird sort of concoctions that the parents would come up with. But we used to have a lot of jam sandwiches, I seem to remember, for tea and things like that. And then spaghetti and tomatoes and very odd things. But anyway, so the cooking was okay. But we would go and play in the muck and the mud. And as, being a boy, you barely ever washed your hands. You're getting all sorts of stuff. And I think that's what's missing these days, is everybody's using bacterial sprays and bleach and all of this stuff to make sure that we don't get any germs whatsoever. And so our immune systems have no chance of building up any kind of force behind them. Do you think?
I think so. I mean, I think there should be a happy medium. I mean, I definitely advocate washing your hands
Yes.
with soap and water.
Yes.
And to be honest with you, soap and warm water is the best way
Yes.
to get rid of germs.
But you see these people, these very nervous people who spraying their surfaces and everything, and you think, golly, the human has been around for thousands of years. How did we ever get here without these bacterial sprays? Does make me laugh. What does Ingram Cars say?
Everything is louder. Everything is louder.
It is louder, definitely.
People talk louder, people slam car doors, revving their engines unnecessarily. Sometimes it's late at night and people can be heard talking at the top of their voices. No consideration for those around them. Hope you're feeling better, Richard, along with Read More.
Oh, Read More. Yes, good old Read More.
Along with Julia. Take care, you two. Thanks, Ingram. Cars.
Very kind. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely right, though.
People do seem to talk now. They have no consideration for anybody. Where I live, it's right next to a supermarket, and there's an alleyway that people walk up, and even in the middle of the night when the supermarket is closed, you'll get people, they're not necessarily drunk, and that could be an excuse, I suppose you could say, but there's
Even seemingly
seemingly
people
non-drunk,
drinking.
just seem to want to talk extremely loudly.
Like Ingram Carr said, at the top of their lungs.
Yeah, it is very odd. And I don't know...
So you do realise the person you're speaking to is right next to you?
Yes, the rest of the street don't want to hear about your interpersonal details.
Not only are you speaking really loudly, it's echoing everywhere.
Mind you,
So annoying.
we did wake up and heard the gulls, the old herring gulls, incredibly loudly.
They were rather loud this morning.
Yes,
I think they were having a party on the roof.
the seagulls seem to have got louder as well with everybody, because clearly they can't be heard above all the other
I was
noises.
going to say they're fighting, they're vying for attention.
So there we are.
We heard over everything else.
Anyway, thank you for your comments. Do keep them coming. Sorry we can't read them all, but we'll read them all out of hours, as it were, like the doctors. So, do you think that modern technology is sometimes a hindrance or a help? Be interested in your thoughts on that. Do add them to the comments, and I'll be back again tomorrow. Thank you, Julia, for coming in.
Thank you very much, Richard, for having me here. Sorry if I'm lacklustre.
That's all right. We're both trying to get back to normal. And if you are a follower on the Bald Explorer channel, you'll know that the second half of our escape to the country, where we go with 18 hours left to find Mad Jack Fuller's follies, is now out. So do enjoy that if you get the chance. In the meantime, we'll say arrivederci.
And goodbye for now.